In today's video, we will be featuring a speech from Jim Rohn about mastering your self-discipline. Self-discipline is the determining factor of how much we achieve in our life. Self-discipline is the act of working towards a goal each and every day in order to achieve your desired outcome. Jim Rohn believed that we need to suffer the short-term pain of self-discipline to avoid the pain of regret later in life. One of the biggest enemies of self-discipline is neglect. It is easy to fall into the habit of neglecting our responsibilities. A true master of self-discipline will not fall victim to neglect. This speech taught me that true success is a result of large accumulations of small actions. Now, without further ado, here is Jim Rohn.
The diseases of attitude. It's never that pleasant to talk about the negative, but we got to talk about it because life is part negative. These attitude diseases are like weeds that grow in the garden. It's a normal part of life. Here's a good phrase to note. Negative is normal. It's not successful, but it's normal. It's part of life. You must learn to handle the negative. Don't ignore it. Handle it. You don't have to live in it. You don't have to dwell on it. But you do have to handle it. So you've got to handle the negative. Here's what part of it is. It's called the Great War Between Good and Evil. Mr. Reynolds and I are working on a new book this year called The Great War Between Good and Evil. And there is a war on. The minute you were born, you got involved in the war between good and evil, between darkness and light, between negative and positive, between evil and good, between tyranny and democracy, between weeds and human activity. I mean, the war is on. If democracy sleeps, guess who never sleeps? Tyranny. In the absence of light, guess what's automatic? Darkness. If good does not arouse itself and become active, guess what moves in? Evil. It's a war. A mental war, a physical war, a financial war, between enterprise and ease, between accomplishment and failure. It's a war. That's why there's an Old Testament phrase that gives the best advice for human activity when it says, 6 days labor, 1 day rest. Now, I'm sure we've taken that to mean, don't work all 7 days. Take one off. Here's what it also means. Only take one off. Or you're liable to lose the war. You've got to really work on your consistent self-discipline on a daily basis, or you'll find yourself distracted. Distracted by negative thoughts, distracted by negative people, distracted by water cooler chatter, and pretty soon, depending on the type of people you've associated with, distracted by your doubts within yourself. Never underestimate the power of influence and associations. And never underestimate the power of your own consistent self-discipline. Now let's take a closer look at discipline, at the 3 steps to becoming disciplined. First, true discipline is not the easiest option. Most people would rather sleep until 10 o'clock than get up at 6. It's easier to go to bed late, sleep late, show up late, leave early. It's easier not to read. It's easier to turn on the television than to open a book. It's easier to do just enough than to do it all. Waiting is always easier than acting. Trying is always easier than doing. Imagine what life would be like if we didn't have to make our bed in the morning, or keep our garage clean, or pay our taxes, or show up for work tomorrow. Wouldn't it be fascinating if we didn't have to do these things? Wouldn't it be fascinating? What do you suppose would become of us? You're right. Not much. For whatever the reason, the system we live in and contribute to is designed to make the easiest things in life the most unprofitable. Profitable seems to be the most difficult. Our world is and always will be a constant battle between the life of ease and its momentary rewards and a life of discipline and its far more significant rewards. Each has its own price, the price of discipline or the price of regret. There was once a man who was a great investment banker, one of the foremost in the world in his profession. He was born in poverty in Europe, was completely self-taught, and had used brains and guts to make a tremendous fortune. Many listened in fascination to this man telling the story of his life, and then would say, "Sir, you should write a book that would sum up all you've learned about the world and about how to succeed in it." But this great international investment banker just looked and smiled. He said, "Well, I suppose I could do that. But it wouldn't really be much of a book. In fact, I could tell you everything I know in just 15 or 20 minutes. Everything I've come to understand over the course of a lifetime. But what good would it do? These aren't things you can just hear about from someone else or read in a book. Until you've discovered them for yourself, they're just words, just puffs of air or drops of ink on a page. You've got to live in order to learn what I've learned. You've got to arrive at these truths the way you arrive at your destination after a long journey, with that same sense of fulfillment and joy." It's ironic, isn't it? Wisdom is not a thing you can buy, or a course you can take in school, or a degree you can earn. Yet every parent wants his children to attend good schools, and rightfully so. Wisdom is not really something you can get from another person, yet you can gain some wisdom from everyone you meet. Wisdom is something a wise man always feels he needs more of. Yet the true sources of wisdom lie nowhere but within ourselves. There are plenty of people who are too smart for their own good, people who are filled to overflowing with facts and technical knowledge, but who are sadly lacking in human understanding and common sense. We've all met people like that. They score high on all the tests. They get perfect grades in school. They win all the prizes. They often get paid very well to practice their skills, to build things, and write computer programs, and carry on lawsuits, and manage other people's affairs. But go home with one of these whizzes. Look at their lives outside of work, if they have a life outside their work, and you'll find that all sorts of things that regular people know, like the difference between right and wrong, and what's fair, and how to give happiness, and what life is worth, that they haven't even thought about.
You have to be all in, and it's the hardest thing to do, because if it fails, then you can feel like a failure. I think of this idea of performance necessity. Two stories kind of come to mind. One is I was working with an Olympic gold medalist sprinter, and we're in the tunnel, and we're going out, and he's talking about the competition, and we get out to the blocks, and I said, he was really worried about the competition. I said, well, how do you even gauge, like, who's going to win? In his particular race, people are winning, but by, 1/100th of a second, tenths of seconds. I mean, these are really close sprints. And I said, well, how do you know? I said, who would you even bet on? And he says, I would bet on the guy who gets down at the blocks, gets himself settled, looks at the finish line, then says, I got to do this for my mom. And I was like, ooh, that's good. His performance necessity in that is, it's necessary for him to win that race for his mom. I think of, when I started my career, and I really decided to go all in with writing and online training. This is like 2006. I'd gone broke, completely bankrupt, and failed. I left my corporate job. I had this cushy kind of corporate job as a consultant. Good job. Left it to write. And I didn't know how to make it as a writer. I wanted to do seminars, workshops, didn't know how to do that. So I was pretty much a hot mess, ran out of money. I got nothing to my name, nothing, no positive prospects. No one's calling me except the guys who want the money. And one night I'm writing, and the apartment was so small. On the bed, I had all, my bills, my vision boards, all my research, all my journals. Like, the bed was basically the desk, the extended desk. And my lady comes in, Denise, and she walks past me, but she sees I'm like trying to write. So she doesn't want to disturb me. She crawls under the covers of the bed. And I'm just typing, kind of casually typing away. And I look over and I see my woman sleeping under my bills. And it was just like, because none of us want to see our family suffer because we are not performing.
Sure.
And I was just like, I gotta figure this out. And I'm telling you, I wrote more that night than any night in my entire life. Next day I wrote more than ever. That birthed Life's Golden Ticket, which became a bestseller. And in 18 months later, because I was like, I'm going to figure out this online thing. I'm going to figure out marketing. I'm going to figure out how to teach. I'm going to figure out how to train and get paid for it, because I'd never really been paid for those things. I said, I'm going to figure out this industry and I'm going to make it. 18 months later, after her crawling under the bills, I made $4.6 million
Jesus.
online. Total transformation. People are like, how did you do it? I'm like, she was my necessity. I was not going to let my woman be in that situation. And she believed in me. She supported me. She married me. And, but she was my drive. And the second part was I went all in with my identity. I said, I am going to be a great writer. And I am going to be one of the greatest online trainers there ever was. As you said in the intro now, we've graduated over 2 million people have taken our online courses and video series now. I don't think it would have happened if I hadn't had the guts and maybe the no other choice to say, this is who I'm going to be, and I'm going to build into that. And it is necessary for me to become that person. So let's go.
Chẳng được quên khi cơn mưa đêm lại về. Em đã quên lời thề và ta như đông chìm sâu. Không cần mưa em anh nhận màu. Em chỉ cần mưa đâu em bay. Chỉ còn là những cơn mưa vô giá cho bên mưa em không mơ anh. Anh một đêm mơ chỉ cần bên em không được còn nhớ và chỉ có em không còn nhớ. Và người ta bên nhau như là tớ. Muốn nhớ về say em chỉ có mấy em ở đây và nhưng không muốn em mãi mãi. Tình yêu làm cho ta đau đầu. Không em yêu mà mơ mộng. Anh như nếu mong cầu và mưa bên em u sầu. Chào cả mà mai em mơ. Chỉ có bên em nhưng là khó mơ. Mà đã ra em muốn bên ai. Anh không mong gì hơn. Chỉ mong em sẽ ở đây ôm anh thật gần. Anh chỉ mong đôi ta được có nhau. Mà đừng em đâu anh có em. Một đêm bên anh có em. Ta sẽ trao nhau môi hôn thật sâu. Ôm anh cứ mưa bằng ngâu. Và em chỉ nằm đâu. Anh không muốn em ở đâu đâu. Một cơn nắng thứ anh không mơ cầu. Mà gặp đôi anh mà bên nhà. Anh chỉ là my friend nhà. Em quên đi bằng lời hứa. Quên đi cần ngày xưa. Anh như là muốn nhớ. Em không còn chưa. Mà đưa đêm ở đêm. Anh nhìn một đôi bằng kem. Không như là ba chỉ là thêm. Cho em nhiều hơn như là kem. Chỉ cần là mưa thôi. Em chỉ cần là mưa thôi. Còn ai sẽ là nắng rồi.
Wow.
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 31 32 33 34 35 36 37 38 39 40 41 42 43 44 45 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 61 62 63 64 65 66 67 68 69 70 71 72 73 74 75 76 77 78 79 80 81 82 83 84 85 86 87 88 89 90 91 92 93 94 95 96 97 98 99 100 101 102 103 104 105 106 107 108 109 110 111 112 113 114 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 148 149 150 151 152 153 154 155 156 1
told your friend you're not okay? And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay? Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and